actually enforce their empowerment to actually address an issue? These are important questions that can be really helpful to justify pursuing things. So, I'd like to thank my amazing patients. You guys have got amazing patients as well. It's interesting that talking to you. You've got the same problem, children, that I have. We're 3,000 miles apart. We've got different governments, we've got different healthcare structures, and we have the same challenging patients. Also, I'd like to thank my wonderful team of nurses, social workers, pharmacists, the dietitian, food insecurity. The dietitian gets to see, ding, back into the social. Why are they food insecure? Is it an IPV situation? And the administration, because actually I have a clinic manager who reports parallel to me up to the budget side, who actually gets it. That she doesn't just say, well, you can't have a third of a more social worker. She sees the 29 million on drugs and sees that people sleeping on the park bench don't take their drugs. And she understands. I don't think some people understand that. Well, that's a drug budget, we'll fund that. No, you've got to fund the whole program. And a lot of the academics on this have been done by my colleagues, Drs. Krenz, Semeniuk, Snell, Semeniuk, and Miller. So, thank you.
Only encounter somebody on the first visit? Do you think they shouldn't test at that point?
If they feel comfortable, yes. If their algorithm means they really got one kick at the can, yes. But if you know you're going to see someone repeatedly, like my program, when someone's referred with HIV, they see on intake the nurse and the social worker, who we arrange a baseline blood work, and they do a series of questions. And they get the appointment to see the doctor in about 3 weeks' time, and all the blood work will be back, and we can talk about therapy or interventions or whatever. So we don't lose many after that first visit. But if you feel that IPV is an issue, do it on the first visit. I mean, it's judgment. Hard and fast rules don't work.
Right.
No.
But there's
you can do it, yes. If you feel that you're getting on well enough, certainly do it.
And you don't feel that there's
It's
a
not
high
even
risk of re-traumatization or
No.
something?
No, it's just your comfort level to get a good and honest answer, and that patient in your structure. Yep.
Just got a comment/question, getting to that ask on the first. If someone's feeling uncomfortable about asking, then maybe a little bit of training, because I think that is why a lot of people don't ask. And also making sure that if someone who's uncomfortable with it, it may not be because they've had some of their own experiences and they aren't sure they're ready to be someone asking about those issues. It's important to consider. But if you feel at least a little bit of comfort with it, it's going to work. But if you really make it a barrier, it doesn't work because the person is going to be able to feel that you're, you know.
I mean, I got into this because everyone felt we got to. So we're all in it, and we all felt comfortable that we had to. I think your point's very valid. Yep.
Excuse me. For one thing, I could say is for positive individuals, either newly diagnosed or who are working with providers, definitely with whoever that worker is, however they're feeling and acting and functioning that day can directly affect how that HIV positive individual is coming in. So they pick up on all those things that are going on with you or any of your workers, how they're feeling, because they'll shut down and not even let you gain access to anything because they're already just dealing with all the other stuff that's going on before they come to the door. So really it's body language, the conversation, your office environment, definitely if they're LGBT and positive and homeless and going through this shuffle situation. So it's really how the provider and their workers are, at the office. Definitely take that into consideration.
I mean, body language has always been really important in HIV. First thing, new patient, shake their hand. I'm not scared of you.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you know, I understand. You know, also, when you're stressed, looking more and more relaxed as you slouch back in the chair as looking, there's no rush at all. You think, oh God, I've got another 6 patients to see before lunch. You know, body language is actually a very powerful tool that we tend not to use as much.
I think that's a good point, being fully engaged, because we all come from very busy work environments, and I make it a point when a patient sits in front of me, nothing else is going on in my world except that patient, and they respond to that. And I think we need to be reminded that it's vital to them and that encounter that they know we are fully engaged at that moment and not thinking about what's going to happen 45 minutes later or a half hour later, or what happened just before they get into the office.
Because it could even be just with your receptionist.
Right.
I mean, some HIV positive individuals are so stressed, and depending on at what point, vantage point you are engaging with them at, they could be at their breaking point, and your receptionist is being not her best or his best. You know, you're going to get a very rebellious and non-compliant, you know, client. So, you know, definitely, you know, body language, all that stuff plays a role in this.
I mean, coming back to engage, you've all heard of the cascade of care, haven't you? How many people have HIV in the community? How many have been diagnosed? How many have been referred to care? How many turned up to care? How many have gone on treatment? How many have taken treatment successfully? We looked at our figures, and then we looked at the care cascade, and then we looked to see where our patients with public health have been diagnosed with HIV. Of those, where did they die? And our loss from AIDS deaths, and mostly deaths, is the people who've been diagnosed, who never actually made it to the clinic, and the people who turned up once and then disappeared on us. Once you get traction, you know really, really well, but it's that traction that's difficult. So, you know, the initial intake visit, the receptionist, not making him feel stigmatized, making him feel this is almost normalized. I mean, efficient but normalized care. You know, like you got blood pressure, you go see a cardiologist or internist to get care. Yes?
Just as a kind of, for everybody in the room, the YWCA, we do have a position at our location that does come out and train other agencies to work with victims of domestic violence. So if that's something that anybody feels like they need, we'd be happy to do that. Because I think as you're asking the questions about people experiencing domestic violence, that even if they identify as a victim, that doesn't necessarily mean they're ready to do anything about it. You know, our counselors have been working with victims for years and years and continue to go back to the same relationships after the counseling appointment. So, you know, training staff on being sensitive to that and understanding and meeting people where they're at and realizing that there's so many reasons people don't leave domestic violence situations is really important too.
Yeah, can't leave is a story we often hear. So do anyone feel strongly it should be the nurse, the social worker, the doctor who asks, or are you all comfortable? We should all feel able to ask. And it's good that there's not a gender bias. Yeah. Yes?
So I was just wondering, when you sort of implemented this protocol, I mean, I know that the motivation for doing it was this sort of shared trauma that the team had. Were there people who felt uncomfortable, like who needed support to feel okay with asking those sorts of questions about someone's life, or?
We're a relatively small team.
Okay.
And social workers, well, 2 of them felt really comfortable. The other one didn't, but the other 2 smartened them up pretty quickly and said, come on, this is part of our job. How can you say, well, I don't really do that part of social work. I fill out forms for disability. Right. You know, there's a bit of peer pressure went on. Well, you know, it just took a little bit of pressure, and after you've done it, you realize, hey, this is important. And there's, you know, when you ask, there's nothing more telling you it's worthwhile than when you get some awful story that you understand where the patient comes from. You know, my alcoholic man, I get him now. He understands. I understand why he drinks so much. And when you do that a few times, you think, yeah, this is important, and it's worthwhile. And it's just our social, well, I can't ask about that. Hopefully they won't talk about it, so we can do lipid levels and CD4s. You can tell I don't really like doing lipid levels.
Just kind of off of her question, I was thinking about motivation because obviously your team was very motivated because you lost a patient. Do you think it would have been different if that did not happen and you just kind of said, I'm the administrator and we're going to start asking this? And
Well, that would have been ugly.
Yeah. So I guess like how to motivate some programs that aren't doing it.
Well, that's a really good question.
Important.
You know, probably you need in any program, you need someone who actually has had some experience with a few of their clients, customers, patients, that actually believes. And then to promote a couple of cases to say, this is why I do it. Because then people, most people are honest. Yeah, probably I should do it. Because Susan or Jack had a really compelling case that said we can't afford to miss this. You need a champion because coming top heavy doesn't work. I've been doing this gig for 30 years and you got to come up from the ground level, educate, and then it works. My EMR is fabulous, but not because I told everyone they've got to work it. They all get benefit from it. So if they put data in, they get benefit because it makes their job easier. The government EMR doesn't work that well because no one really sees any benefit other than extra tick boxes. Sorry. Yes?
I would also add to that I think, particularly in the capital region and everywhere really, domestic violence lethality is a thing. And I think about this past weekend, we had a domestic violence or IPV related homicide in our community. And I think playing on that domestic violence kills people is very compelling. And we have stories from our communities to support that, unfortunately.
I think there'll be a secondary spin because if you start this from HIV, it's not just HIV, it's more common, you've got the ability to follow it. But people become more comfortable as part of general medical assessment. And we might find that we know it's common, but we might find its negative impacts are far more nasty and pervasive than you realise.
So you're saying you're tracking, like, so they come in, they say that this is going on, you link them with care, and then you track what happens as far as their health and everything. Once they're linked with care, does it improve?
From our HIV record, we can follow clinical appointments, HIV adherence, we do quality of life, we can do housing. Now, it takes a lot of resources. Most of this I've done on infrastructure money. In other words, I've used the money for the program to actually try and evaluate what we're doing. Ideally, it probably should be done as Scrum, because then that gives you dedicated people to follow it, rather than you say, someone's got an afternoon, can you do an analysis on this data or extract it for us? Yep.
I guess I'm wondering, so you talk about identifying victims, referring them out, and do you think it ever goes the other way, where someone's entering through the DV system, getting stabilized, and then sort of saying, like, now I'm ready to engage in treatment, or do you, like, is it a nexus, or is it?
Well, generally, we have a very open door policy. Anyone with HIV is my responsibility. If anyone phones me up and says, can you see this patient, we'll see him. Usually we can actually see, we don't work on weekends, but we can see them within a week of emergency. So we're receptive. And occasionally we get someone, a DV, a social situation or whatever, says, can you see them? And I get it, because sometimes if they get a bit of traction with us, it might make everyone's life easier. I don't want to be a barrier to anything. And so you know, half an hour slot, yeah, we'll make it. If someone really thinks they need it and it might give traction to other bits of their life, sure. And I'm sure the clinicians have had the occupation totally dysfunctional, angry with life, angry at everyone, and sometimes for a reason. And you get them on treatment and they calm down. And I think it's, one chap described it, it's like this big black cloud that was following me everywhere around. And all of a sudden when I went on treatment and my arms didn't drop off my hair, they got control of their life. And so the HIV is that treatment can actually help, but it's only part of the problem. Yes?
So, my question is, so when they come into our office, they're coming in there for domestic violence. If they go into our shelters, then when we do paperwork within there, they're asked for HIV, well, have they been tested, what those guys do. But if they're doing an office intake, is it okay to ask those guys?
You mean their HIV status on the tape?
Yeah, so for us, we already know it's TB because they're in our office
Yeah.
for that reason.
But then their HIV. I do believe confirming someone's HIV status is important, if they say they're HIV. We've had scam artists who've tried to use community resources by claiming they've got HIV. I'm sure it's a bit disappointing.
I guess I meant like being part of the intake process of, our main goal is for shelter first. So if they need to take shelter, then everything comes to the side. But in that process of asking them, during that intake process, should we be asking that question on that initial intake?
About the DV? Or?
About their HIV?
I think if they describe as part of your intake HIV risk activities, it is very reasonable to ask if they had an HIV test. If positive, what did you do? What did they do about it? And would you like me to reconnect you when life's settled? You know, I mean, I wouldn't say, well, we've got to get you to see the HIV specialist this afternoon. That will actually be very negative for everyone. I think you basically, as part of your intake, you probably ask about shooting, you ask about unsafe sexual activities, consensual, non-consensual, whatever. And that gives you a clue, and then you lead on from that.
I always think it's important to really follow up immediately with the confidentiality piece, because I think that they're already feeling uncomfortable. Of course, we have an HIV clinic that's a little different, but when they're going, and like for me, if I'm going to refer somebody to treatment, what I usually say to them is they're going to request your medical records, so they're going to know that you're positive. However, you can say to the nurse and the intake person, you are the only people that I want to know about this. This needs to be confidential. And that gives them more confidence that, we talk about the law, we talk about the fact that this cannot be disclosed. And I just find that it gives them confidence that the whole world isn't going to know it, that there's a reason for this, and that beyond just a few people, I'm protected.
I think that's a really good comment to make sure you entrench in the systems. HIV confidential.
Right.
Adding it to the spiel of would you like referral.
Yeah.
Remember, HIV in this state and this province is actually confidential, it's protected legally, and we generally do extremely well.
Yes.
I mean, I've been at it and we haven't had any problems, right. Although we've had amazing high-profile people. Not doubt high-profile people are anywhere near like profile basketball players or whatever. Yep.
Back to what things might you be looking at. Do you have access to your hospital emergency room data to be able to see going forward do you have an electronic record system so that you could say, are the persons using your clinic who you've been asking this information, are they going to the ER less? Because that's often
we can actually do that, yes. We are lucky because every patient who comes to my program for actually paperwork reasons 30 years ago, I'm there listed attending.
Oh,
And the only reason my colleague said, I don't want the damn results coming to my own office. You can have them all. So I'm listed as the attending, which is fantastically useful for when I want to get results on anyone. I just say, I'm their attending. And so I can go into anyone's records and say, I'm the attending. And that's pure, I mean, stroke of genius, pure luck. I did it because of the paperwork, but actually being the one person listed attending all the HIV is just amazing control of the data, because you'll meet someone who'll sit and, well, he doesn't have right to that. Look at my name on the chart. I'm the attending. In fact, my colleague, who happens to be a wonderful HIV specialist, has provided all the care. Doesn't matter, my name's on the chart. And I don't get paid for how many people my name's on the chart, I stress. But that was luck, I've got to admit. Otherwise you need patient consent, which you can get, but it slows things up. Okay, I'm going to hang around for a little bit before my train down to New York City.
And I would really like to thank Dr. Gill for coming today. This is amazing. And also for everybody for taking the time out of your schedules. I know everybody's schedule is crazy, so thank you for spending 4 hours with us. We appreciate it. Sign up for the work group. It's right out of the registration table. So if you want to go ahead and sign up, and it's just 3 hour-and-a-half meetings here at CARE, the use of lunch. We'd really like to get your input, because I think the more input we have from you guys, the stronger the tool is going to be. And you guys are going to be the ones using it. So
I just want to make a comment. This is probably one of the best trainings I've attended. I appreciate the format. You just kept our interest, my interest the whole time. So thank you.
all right, so I'll be out at the table if you guys want to sign up, and you're welcome to stick around.
It was free. Courtesy of the New State Health Department.
I kept off.